Revealed: how a billionaire's heartwarming act transformed a pregnant food vendor's life forever. In the vibrant streets of Chicago's South Side, an undeniable energy crackled through the air. Each morning, before the first rays of sunlight broke free from the horizon, Maria, a determined 28-year-old food vendor, woke up, her heart racing with hope. The brisk winds kissed her cheeks as she brushed past her neighbors, all eager for the day's first bite of her beloved tacos. With every sizzle from her cart, she served more than just meals. She served memories, culture, and a piece of home to her hungry patrons. Despite the uncertain future, her spirit shone brighter than the golden batter she used for her crispy tacos. Today, however, was no ordinary day. As she flipped tortillas against the griddle, a figure caught her eye. A man in an impeccably tailored suit, his gaze lingering on her bustling cart. Alex, a billionaire fresh from corporate boardrooms, stood there, curiosity illuminating his face. This was a man who'd spent years trapped in a rose-colored bubble of privilege, unfulfilled and searching for genuine connection. Little did they both know that their worlds were about to collide. Maria served him a taco with a warm smile, her heart fluttering as they struck up a conversation. In that moment, the weight of her worries began to lift. She poured out her dreams, her hopes for her unborn child, and the fear of tomorrow. "I want to make a life, a real one," she said, her eyes glistening. Alex listened intently, feeling the passion behind her words, his own heart aching in response. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But that connection was quickly put to the test. Just days later, unexpected city regulations loomed over Maria's cart like a thundercloud. "They're trying to shut me down," she whispered to Alex, her heart racing with fear. He felt the heat of her panic, and it burned deep. As she shared more of her struggles and the love for her community that swirled around them like the aromas from her cart, Alex realized he had the power to help, but the pressures of his past pulled at him like weighted chains. Determined not to let her down, he fought against the indifference of his corporate partners, advocating for local vendors like Maria, but pushback was swift and fierce. The community around them, too, stirred. The very fabric of their lives was at risk. Amidst the chaos of gentrification plans that threatened their neighborhood, Maria and Alex found themselves at the helm of a growing movement. But just as hope surged, a truth emerged that could change everything. What would happen if their different worlds collided too harshly? Would their alliance spark a miracle or leave them both shattered? As the community rallied together, anxiously looking to Maria and Alex for guidance, the stakes rose, leaving a single question hanging in the air. Would this bond lead to a brighter future, or would it pull them apart just when unity was most critical? The sun dipped low over the south side, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet. Maria stood behind her taco cart, heart pounding like a drum as murmurs of discontent rippled through the crowd that had gathered. The city hadn't just issued a warning, they were serious about shutting her down. Each worried face staring back was a mirror of her own fear. Alex hovered nearby, the tension in his jaw evident. He was no longer just a spectator. He had waded into this fight head first. "I won't let them take this from you," he assured her, his voice steady, but Maria could hear the storm brewing beneath the surface. Words of comfort could only go so far when reality gripped tightly. She needed action. "We could organize a rally," she suggested, her voice breaking slightly. The thought of confronting the city felt daunting, but deep inside, Maria felt a flicker of determination. If she could rally the community, maybe they could stand together against the gentrification creeping into their lives. Alex nodded, eyes lit with a mix of fear and hope. "I'll help," he promised, as he reached for her hand. The warmth of his touch sent a rush of strength through her. But with his promise came a reality she had yet to vocalize. She had feelings for this man, a billionaire no less, who touched her life in ways she had never expected. Would he be in her corner when things got tough, or was this just a fleeting moment of sympathy? They spent the next few days in a whirlwind of hustle. Handwritten flyers fluttered precariously in the Chicago wind, and social media buzzed with the news of the rally. They spread the word, connecting with neighbors, longtime customers, and local businesses, creating a tapestry of support that was laced with solidarity. Then came the day of the rally. The streets were alive with energy, the staccato rhythm of chants echoing through the neighborhood. "Save our tacos!" They hadn't just come for the food, they had come for Maria, for their way of life. Alex stood next to her, holding a megaphone, his presence grounding her. The crowd surged forward, their collective voices pushing against the cold walls of bureaucracy. It was heartwarming, and Maria's spirit soared as she saw the impact of their unity. But as she basked in the moment, reality clawed back. "Let's hear from our community," Alex shouted into the megaphone, his voice cutting through the air. Mr. Garcia stepped up first, trembling with fervor as he recounted the years of memories made at Maria's cart. He painted a picture of families gathered around her tacos, laughter spilling out into the night. Maria felt a rush of warmth blanket her heart. She might be in a battle, but she wasn't alone. As more people stepped forward, the atmosphere thickened with emotion. Stories flowed freely, each one knitting the community closer. They shared how Maria's food cart became a haven, a sweet slice of home for immigrants and locals alike. She felt as if they were releasing a flood of strength right into her veins, a tide of loyalty and love. But her exhilaration faltered when a few scornful faces materialized within the crowd. They looked out of place, dissonant to the allow of support. Were they reporters covering the rally, or perhaps representatives of the city, monitoring the situation? Despite the warmth surrounding her, the chill of reality seeped back in. When one of them, a sharp-dressed man with piercing eyes, stepped forward, Maria's heart skipped. He waved a press badge, demanding silence. "Let's address the elephant in the room, shall we?" he smirked. "We're here to discuss progress." The crowd collectively tensed. Maria felt vulnerable, as if all those voices she'd championed were suddenly under siege. "This isn't about progress at your expense," she shouted, her voice shaking but resolute. The man held up a hand. "No one said it was." His tone dripped with sarcasm, and she could see the cameras zooming in on her, ready to capture any misstep. Suddenly, the world felt smaller. She was just one taco cart against a sprawling system. The ramifications of her fight outweighed her wildest dreams, and she could sense the watching storm ready to unleash chaos at a moment's notice. But then there was Alex. The fire in his eyes rekindled her determination. "Let them hear us!" he called, and the crowd responded with cheers erupting again. Maybe it wasn't just about her cart. Maybe it was something bigger, something that could resonate beyond her neighborhood. The thought was energizing, and Maria couldn't let the fear consume her. Just as she was about to speak again, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She glanced at it, and the notification turned her blood cold. "Breaking news! Billionaire supports local vendor, but is he helping or hindering?" Before she could even process it, the tension shifted. This moment wasn't just about taco recipes and community love anymore. The stakes had soared. What would the world see when they looked at Maria next? As the cameras swung back her way, Maria took a deep breath, ready to find her voice amid the chaos. If she was going to fight, she would fight fiercely, unveiling a truth that maybe, just maybe, could change everything. But standing on the precipice of that revelation, she felt a tremor of doubt. What if this battle cost her everything? The moment hung in the air, charged with electric tension. Maria felt all eyes on her, and the camera lenses focused like hawks ready to swoop. She swallowed hard, her throat dry, yet she knew she couldn't back down now. "Listen," she said, raising her voice as the crowd hushed. "This isn't just about some random taco cart. This is about our lives, our families, and our futures." Her words came out stronger than she felt, like a defiant shield against the storm brewing on the fringes. The man with the press badge smirked, a flicker of amusement in his eyes, as if he'd heard it all before. "And what will you do when change disrupts your little world, Maria? You think nostalgia can win against progress?" he jabbed, his tone mocking. "Progress?" she shot back, the fire igniting inside her. "What kind of progress means tearing down our community? The people here built their lives around this place, and I'm just a part of that. You want to talk about progress? Let's talk about people before profit." The crowd erupted, cheers mixed with shouts, every voice a testament to resilience. Maria closed her eyes for a moment, letting the energy surge through her. This was it. This was her moment, and she wouldn't let the anxiety choke her words. Mr. Garcia stepped forward again, his voice unwavering. "Maria's cart is not just food, it is history wrapped in tortillas. It is our identity. If they want to bulldoze that, they'll have to go through all of us." The crowd roared in agreement, a tidal wave of support that knocked back the doubts. But behind them, Maria caught a glimpse of the sharp-dressed man's colleagues regaining composure. She noticed the way they exchanged glances, their determination hardening. She felt a rush of fear. Were they really going to put this on the news in a way that turned her community against her? Would they distort the truth into headlines that would cut deep? A camera flashed, capturing every tear, every smile, every ounce of hope mingling with despair. Maria's phone buzzed again, but this time she ignored it. She had a mission, no distractions allowed. "Change is not a bad thing," she continued, meeting the man's gaze and holding it. "But it should lift us up, not tear us down. We're here demanding something different." As she spoke, Alex's presence bolstered her. He stood beside her, a bastion of support and strength. She needed this, his belief in her and their collective vision, to silence those whispers of doubt. Suddenly there was a loud thud. A protester's sign had fallen, hitting the ground. In the confusion, a few members of the crowd tried to pick it up, their momentary distraction highlighting a fracture in their unity. Maria felt her heart race. Could that moment break them? "No!" she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "Remember why we're here. We're family. Nothing can separate that. We are standing for each other." She saw the faces of her neighbors, resolve filling their eyes. They shared smiles, nods, gestures. The energy shifted back to solidarity, a light breaking through the clouds. But just then, a voice cut through the excitement, sharp as glass. "How long can this last?" It was the man from the press, the skepticism thick in his tone. "You may have today's crowd, but what about tomorrow? What's your plan, your fight?" Before Maria could respond, she spotted movement in the back, a group of people gathering. They had signs displaying harsh slogans meant to undermine her fight. It felt like everything was spiraling, but she took a deep breath. "Together," Maria started, raising her hands as if channeling their collective strength. "Together, we have the power to write our own story. If we fight together, we can face whatever comes. This is just the beginning." The crowd erupted again, louder this time. Their cheers drowned out the question, but she felt its weight pressing against her. As hands reached out to her, bright eyes met hers, filled with trust. But worry crept back in. It wasn't just the battle against the city. The fight was growing personal, pulling Alex into the fray. Could they handle the consequences? With the roar of the crowd wrapped around her, Maria poised herself for what might come next. She could feel the weight of multiple futures hanging in the balance. What choice would be made when the dust settled around them? The uncertainty lingered like a dark shadow, demanding attention. Every decision they made could shatter or strengthen the fragile bond they were building. She looked around, breath hitching. What if saving her cart could cost her everything she held dear? What if the fight turned allies into foes? The stakes were higher than she'd ever imagined. Maria took another step forward, her heart racing, steeling herself for the storm. Maria's heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of the stakes they were all facing. Her thoughts pulled between determination and dread. The crowd surged like a living entity, their collective voices a source of strength, yet the gnawing anxiety clung to her. In the back of her mind, she replayed the reporter's question. Thoughts raced. What about tomorrow? Could this moment sustain their fight? She shifted her weight from one foot to another, searching the faces in front of her for answers. Her neighbors, her friends, her family. Their eyes spoke volumes, a mixture of hope and fear, but mostly an unwavering resolve. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, Maria noticed the sharp-dressed man gesturing madly towards the back, where the opposition had gathered. Their colleagues were setting up a camera, ready to capture this moment. The urgency in their movements sent a jolt through her. The stakes weren't just emotional anymore, they were becoming very real. "They want to paint us as troublemakers," Alex whispered beside her, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We have to stay strong, keep them focused on why we're here." He stepped a little closer, his presence anchoring her like a safe harbor in a violent storm. Maria nodded, squeezing his hand, feeling the warmth spread through her. "Remember our stories," she shouted, rising above the noise. "These are our lives they're talking about, our dreams. They can't take that away." For a moment, the crowd was quiet, absorbing her words. She saw the depth of their connection in the way they stood together, united by shared histories, struggles, and laughter over tacos. But from the back, an older man shouted, "The whole city will see this, Maria. Do you think they care?" "Let them see," Maria shouted back, pride swelling within her. "Let them see our community. Let them see the heart behind this fight." Her voice echoed, carrying on the wind, and it seemed to reach more than just the crowd. It was a rallying cry, an awakening. The man in the back let out a scoff, trying to undermine Maria's message. Heart doesn't pay bills. Heart doesn't build skyscrapers. He was met with murmurs of disapproval, the crowd growing restless. Maria could sense the tension building. Taking a deep breath, she calmed herself, focusing on the beauty of what was happening around her. This battle wasn't just about keeping her cart. It was about preserving their shared identity, the traditions that brought them together. A young woman in the front shouted, "We won't let them take it." Her voice was strong, igniting a wave of responses. People began chanting, "Our community, our choice." As the chants rose, Maria felt the pulling strength of unity around her. Each shout, each cheer rewove the fabric of their collective spirit. It stoked her fire, reminding her why she began this fight in the first place. It was for every memory woven into those tacos. It was for every child who loved the flavor of their culture, for every elderly neighbor who found solace in familiar tastes. But beneath that fire, she was still aware of the lurking danger. What if this moment sparked division rather than solidarity? Would their voices be enough to combat the incoming storm? She felt the weight of the moments ahead, and doubt flickered like an unsteady flame. "Stand with me," she called out, searching the crowd for assertive eyes. "This is bigger than any one of us. We have the power to create a future where families thrive, where our shared memory matters. We need to stand for our children, our dreams, before it's too late." Just as the crowd surged forward in agreement, a shout echoed from behind the opposing faction. A lone figure cloaked in a long coat stepped forward, their face half in shadow. Maria squinted, the figure's presence inexplicably magnetic. "Don't think this will go unnoticed," the voice rang out, resolute and commanding. As the crowd quieted, all eyes turned toward the newcomer, intrigued yet cautious. "Who are you?" Maria demanded, her heart racing again, this time with uncertainty. "Someone who believes in the power of change," the figure responded. And with that, the chill of curiosity wrapped around her. What did they mean? Could this person either be an ally or another obstacle in their path? The anticipation thickened, and Maria realized that the fight was far from over. What new twists awaited them in this battle? Silence blanketed the crowd as they awaited an answer, their breath hanging in the air, thick with tension. The figure stepped closer, revealing more of their face. It was a woman, her eyes sparkling with an intensity that shifted the atmosphere. Maria's heart raced even faster. There was something almost familiar in her gaze, a spark of recognition that sent hope flickering through her. "I've watched you all fight," the woman continued, her voice rising above the murmurs. "You're not just fighting for tacos or carts. You're fighting for what's right, for justice." A ripple of excitement spread among the crowd, igniting energy and resilience. Yet the old man who had scoffed earlier raised an eyebrow, skepticism still clouding his expression. "And what do you know about our struggle?" The woman held her ground, her posture unwavering. "More than you think. I grew up in a neighborhood just like this one. I faced obstacles, I faced doubt, and I know the power of community." "What do you mean?" Maria asked, urgency creeping into her voice. Curiosity mingled with apprehension. Could she trust this stranger? Her heart was a battlefield of fears and hopes, but she felt the crowd's eyes pinned on her, searching for clarity. "I'm here because I want to help," the woman declared. "My family was displaced for a development project that promised prosperity, but it tore the fabric of our community apart." She paused, tilting her head slightly. "I've fought that same fight, and I refuse to stand on the sidelines when I can do something to make a difference." The murmurs intensified. Hope started weaving through the crowd like threads of light. Maria sensed the balance tipping. "What do you suggest?" she asked, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. The woman smiled softly, but it conveyed strength. "We join forces. I have connections, resources, and an idea that could spotlight your struggle in a way you never imagined. Let the city see the real impact of their choices. Show them that this isn't just about business, it's about lives, about culture." The crowd erupted with energy as people began cheering, their voices intertwining. Maria felt a surge in her chest, a feeling she hadn't dared to allow herself. Suddenly, a woman beside her raised her hand, asking the question everyone was thinking. "What's the catch? Why help us?" The sharp-dressed man at the back took a step forward, skeptically eyeing the figure. "Can you be trusted? What are you really after?" Carousel in your text here. Carousel in your text here. "I want to see communities thrive, not just survive," the woman replied evenly, meeting his gaze. "But it means finding common ground. I can't help if you don't trust me." Maria could feel the collective throbbing of hearts around her, the whispers of doubt mingling with budding trust. She took a bold step toward the woman. "If we're going to fight together, we need to be honest with each other. Can you ensure that when the cameras roll, you depict us as we are?" "Absolutely," the woman replied, the intensity in her voice unwavering. "I want the world to see your heart. I believe it can inspire change." Hope ignited within Maria, warming her against the shivers of uncertainty. Could this be the turning point? As the crowd rallied around this newfound alliance, Maria felt a shift, confidence buoyed by collective strength. But somewhere deep inside, worry still lingered. Would this cooperation lead them to victory or further confusion? Could hope and ambition blossom where doubt once thrived? Just as she opened her mouth to speak again, a distant noise pierced the murmur of the crowd. Police sirens flashed in the distance, a stark reminder that their battle was escalating. "Here they come," Alex stated, his voice tight. "What's our next move?" Maria looked around at the faces around her, the mix of anxiety and determination. She took a deep breath. "We stand united. No matter what, we show them who we are." As cheers of agreement erupted, the crowd began to move toward the oncoming storm. With fear and resolve intertwined within her, she felt the weight of the moment. What were they willing to sacrifice for their message? And what consequences loomed in the face of their newfound hope? As the sound of sirens grew louder, slicing through the electric charge of the crowd, Maria felt the air shift around her. The optimism they'd just grasped seemed to tremble on the edge of fear. "Stay together," she called, her voice barely rising above the chaos. It unleashed a primal urge within the collective heart of the crowd, a need to protect what they had just begun to fight for. "Police are going to push us back," Alex urged, glancing nervously over his shoulder. "We need a plan, and fast." The woman at the front, the one who had ignited their hope, stood firm and tall. "I've dealt with situations like this before," she said, her voice steady, radiating assurance like a lighthouse in a storm. "We'll move toward the park. It's open. We can hold a visible presence there. They can't ignore us if we're all together." "Are you sure about this?" Maria asked, looking directly into her eyes. She needed to gauge the truth behind the woman's resolve. "I promise you they'll listen," the woman replied, a fierce spark in her gaze. "This isn't just a protest, it's a statement." With the sirens blaring, people began to shuffle forward, a wave of determination cascading through the ranks. Maria's heart galloped as they made their way to the park, each step echoing the unity she had longed for. Fear trembled at the edges of her mind, but something else surged: solidarity. The crowd erupted into chants, passionate voices rising above the din of confusion. "We are strong. We are family," they chanted together, a beautiful harmony that merged their hopes and dreams, the very essence of their community spilling out into the open air. As they reached the park, Maria felt a sense of urgency. "We need signs, something to get our message across," she exclaimed, scattering through the throng like confetti, searching for scraps of cardboard. As she and a few others gathered materials, she caught sight of a large group forming around their leader, the woman who had stepped into their lives so suddenly but so deeply. "What's her name?" Maria found herself whispering to Alex. "We should know her story, too." "Let's just call her our ally for now," he replied, glancing towards the crowd with admiration. "She knows what she's doing." Maria couldn't shake off the warmth blooming in her chest as they began crafting their signs. "Stand for your community," one card proclaimed, while another read, "Justice, not development." Each reflection of their feelings brought a wave of energy back to her. The air felt charged, alive with purpose, but the sirens grew more persistent, echoing into the evening. The police were closing in, their figures sharp and threatening against the waning light. "We don't have much time," Maria cried out, the urgency in her voice drawing attention. "We need to make this count." "Everyone," the woman's voice boomed above it all, "we need to stay together. Set up a perimeter around those who will speak for our community. We will show them our strength, our unity." The crowd rallied closer, forming sturdy lines of support. Maria felt the adrenaline in her veins pulsing with every heartbeat. She stationed herself near the front, ready for whatever came next. What had started as an ordinary day melted into something vital and fierce. Suddenly, a figure stepped from a group of officers, its shiny badge gleaming under the fading sun, and Maria's heart thudded. Was he truly here to help or to quell their voices? Tell me we're not about to face down the police, Maria thought as her fingers tightened around her sign. And then came the words that would change everything, the words that she feared could either send them spiraling into chaos or unite them in sheer determination. Would they hold together against the pressure, or would this moment tear them apart? The tension coiled tighter as the officer raised his megaphone, ready to speak. "Listen up!" The officer's voice boomed through the megaphone, slicing through the chants of the crowd. Maria's grip on her sign tightened as she waited for the punchline that would either shatter their unity or bolster it. "We're asking you to disperse peacefully. This is an unlawful assembly." Each word felt like a stone thrown into the lake of their resolve, rippling doubt across their determination. Maria caught a glimpse of the worried faces surrounding her. Fear was a familiar scent. Every heartbeat thrummed with it. But then, the woman at the front, their ally, stepped forward, her stance unwavering. "We will not back down," she responded, her voice rising, filling the space with warmth, like a ray of sun breaking through the gray clouds. "This is our community. We're here to be heard." A wave of renewed energy surged through the crowd. "We're here to be heard," they echoed in unison, their voices melding into a powerful roar that pushed back against the fear creeping in. Maria could feel the solidarity washing over her, bolstering her strength as if it were a warm blanket in the bitter cold. The officer hesitated, the expression on his face flickering between doubt and frustration. It was a moment that felt frozen in time, everyone holding their breath, anticipating a shift. Would he realize the power that lay in their voices? "Each one of us has a story," the woman continued, her passion blazing like a beacon. "Each life here has value. You can't take that away from us." She took a step back, encouraging others from the crowd to join in. "Who wants to tell their story?" Maria's heart began to race, the reality of vulnerability crashing down around her. The idea of placing her truth in front of everyone, including those police officers, felt daunting. But as she glanced around, she saw faces filled with anguish, hope, and unwavering determination, urging her with their eyes. She stepped forward, propelled by an unfamiliar courage. "My family has lived in this neighborhood for generations," she shouted, her voice trembling with emotion. "We're not just another statistic. We deserve to live in a safe and supportive community. We deserve a voice." As she spoke, Maria reveled in the warmth flooding through her. People began to step forward, sharing their truths like seeds planted in fertile soil. Stories of struggle, resilience, and resistance unfolded one after another, weaving a tapestry that echoed through the park. The officer's demeanor shifted ever so slightly, eyes widening as he took in the strength of the shared voices. The crowd's collective cry grew louder, an undeniable presence, a living embodiment of their unity. And then, seemingly from nowhere, a loud clang struck the air, shattering their moment of resolve. A police line of officers stepped forward, batons raised. Maria's stomach dropped. Fear threatened to seep back in, ready to swallow them whole. "Stay together," the woman shouted, grounding everyone once more. "We won't let them divide us." Heart pounding, Maria glanced at Alex. "What do we do now?" The stakes had never felt higher. They were teetering on the precipice of something monumental. Would they stand firm against the tide threatening to tear them apart? Just then, she caught a whispered word from the crowd. "Organize! March to the city hall!" Could this moment truly galvanize them into something more than just a protest? The realization hit her, and with it, a surge of hope. To turn the tide, they would need to shift their energy from mere resistance to purposeful action. Could they harness this momentum to make a real difference? With spirits aligned, they stood united, ready for whatever consequence lay ahead. But would they be able to slide into that next chapter of their fight, or would the walls close in on them as the night deepened? The air crackled with uncertainty, and Maria felt a tremor run through her soul. What was next for them? The clash of batons against shields filled the air, drowning out the remaining chance. Each resounding bang sent a shiver through Maria's spine. The officers pressed closer, their eyes cold and unreadable. The crowd's pulse quickened, breaths shallow in the thickening tension. "Stay strong," the woman called again, her voice piercing the growing panic. She held her ground at the front, a rock amid the rising storm. Seeing her commitment ignited a spark in Maria. "Together!" she cried out, echoing back the rallying cry. "Together!" One by one, others joined in. It transformed into a powerful mantra. The crowd moved as one, tightening their circle, forcing back the encroaching line of officers. Fear began to morph into something more, a stubborn resolve. "March to City Hall," someone called from the back, and the idea caught like wildfire. Maria felt it stir within her, a blend of excitement and apprehension, a step beyond protesting, an act of assertion. They were ready to make their voices heard, but the threat of violence loomed large. Alex's hand found hers, grounding her in the chaos. "We have to organize. We can't let them silence us," he urged, his voice a steady reminder of the shared mission. Her heart raced, not just from fear, but from the thrill of possibility. "Let's move!" the woman in front shouted again. The crowd began to sway, a sea of determination as they started moving together. Each step felt monumental. They were taking control of their narrative. But then chaos erupted as a line of officers lunged forward, yelling commands for the protesters to disperse. An officer raised his baton again, ready to strike. Instinctively, Maria squeezed Alex's hand, but instead of retreating, the woman stepped into the gap, arms outstretched. "Please, we are not your enemies," the woman's voice rang clear, resonating through the rising tension. "We want to talk. We want change." The moment hung in the air, the world holding its breath. How would the officers respond? Maria felt her heart hammering against her chest, anticipation thickening the atmosphere. Then something extraordinary happened. An officer stepped forward, lowering his baton slightly. "We need to keep the peace, but I can't promise anything," he said, his voice a hesitant bridge between worlds. Encouraged, Maria took a small step forward, propelled by a sudden burst of courage. "We just want to be heard! We want our stories heard!" The crowd lifted their signs, voices mingling in a fervent chant for change, for understanding. The energy was electric, a palpable shift brewing within the air. Could this be the turning point they were fighting for? "Let's make this a march for justice," the woman called, rallying the crowd behind the cause. They surged forward, chanting, "Justice! Justice!" Eyes ablaze with hope, they forged ahead toward City Hall, not just as a protest, but as a movement. But just as they began to make headway, a loud shout pierced the air. "Back up!" It was a different voice this time, a commanding one, full of authority. Maria's heart sank. Would their moment of unity be crushed before it could even expand? As panic stirred within the crowd, Maria instinctively reached out for Alex, seeking solace amidst the turmoil. The air was thick with uncertainty. Would their voices be drowned out before they could reach their destination? The surge of hope mingled with dread as the officers closed in again. Would they stand firm and claim their space in history, or would fear silence them once more? In that pivotal moment, Maria grappled with the question that hung heavy in the atmosphere. What happened to those who dared to dream for something more? The tension in the air was electric as the crowd pressed forward, each heartbeat a unified pulse of hope and defiance. "We are here!" they shouted, spurring each other onward, not merely protesting, but demanding space in the world. Maria felt that surge of strength resonating deep in her core. As the officers called for them to back away, the woman at the front raised her megaphone high. "We are not moving! Not until we are heard!" The defiance echoed back, and the crowd surged forward once more, emboldened by the collective voice. The prospect of justice shimmered on the horizon, vibrant and alive. Alex squeezed Maria's hand tighter, grounding her despite the chaos. They were in this together, intertwined allies moving against a tide determined to break them apart. Behind her, she caught Mr. Garcia's determined gaze. He was there, alongside his neighbors, friends, and family, an unyielding fortress against the city's encroachment. "Stay focused," Maria boomed, her voice ringing out over the swell of the crowd. "This is about all of us, the history we carry, the lives we live." Suddenly, the officer stepped back, uncertainty flickering in his eyes as Maria's words washed over him. He glanced at the line of police, and for just a moment, the wall of authority trembled. Could they see their humanity? Could they feel the weight of their lives hanging in balance? In that heartbeat of hesitation, Maria stepped forward, vulnerability coloring her voice. "We are a community built on love, tradition, and resilience. You can't erase us." The officer's eyes softened. "What do you want?" he asked, not out of fragility, but with a hint of genuine curiosity. "What we want," Maria began, gripping the megaphone with purpose, "is to protect our way of life, to safeguard our homes, our culture, our stories. We want our voices to matter." The crowd echoed behind her, a resounding affirmation that built layers of connection. "Our voices deserve to be heard," they chanted, swelling the message into a roar that filled the park. Slowly, the officer lowered his baton even further, taking the first steps towards engagement. "All right, let's talk." His tone shifted, dropping the barriers that had once divided them. Breathless, Maria exchanged glances with Alex, who beamed with pride. This was the breakthrough they needed. She turned back to the crowd, eyes bright with determination. "To the City Hall! We'll take our stories straight to them!" As one, they surged forward, a hybrid of courage and purpose rumbling beneath their feet. The distance to City Hall shrank with every shout, and the officers, caught off guard, moved reluctantly aside. Hope radiated through Maria as they approached. This was more than a march. This was a movement. She glanced back at her community, the people she loved, inspired, and fought for, each face illuminated with passion. But what would await them at City Hall? Would the officials listen, or would they revert to wearing blinders? Within moments, they reached the steps of the imposing building. This was the heart of the decision-making power, and fear began to creep back into her chest. Would her voice carry above the noise of bureaucracy? The woman who had become their ally stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "Everyone, we need to approach with unity. Let our stories be our strength. I will help articulate your needs." Maria could feel the shift. They belonged there, ready to plant their flag in the ground. "Together," she shouted, "together!" As speeches were made, stories shared, the power of personal reflection wove a tapestry of collective unity, capturing the heart of the city in a way that facts and figures never could. Each word opened doors to understanding and empathy. Hours passed, and the crowd held on to their strength, waiting for answers. Tired but unyielding, Maria stood proud amongst neighbors and supporters alike. Finally, an official emerged, serious but earnest, his face weary from the toll of long hours. "All right, we've heard your stories. We will revisit the regulations affecting local vendors like you. This is a community that deserves to thrive." A breath swept through the crowd, a glimmer of hope blossomed. This could lead to change, an actual shift in their lives. Kurt, the old man with the weathered hands, screamed, "We did it!" And the cheer that erupted was euphoric, embracing their collective victory. In the warmth of celebration, Maria looked around at every smiling face, a family forged through struggle, determination, and love. They hadn't just defended a taco cart, they had claimed their place in the world. As they began to disperse, the woman walked up to Maria, pride illuminating her features. "You have a strength I've rarely seen," she said, her voice full of sincerity. "I didn't do this alone," Maria replied, glancing at Alex, Mr. Garcia, and all the neighbors who had rallied with her. "We're a community. Together, we can overcome anything." "We will keep fighting," Alex added quietly, looking into her eyes. "And I'll always be here, right by your side." Tears glistened in Maria's eyes as she took in the moment, the collective triumph, her connection to Alex, the promise of a better future blossoming just ahead. That night, as they closed her taco cart, the air buzzed with vivid dreams reshaping their future. Maria smiled brighter than ever, feeling an overwhelming sense of possibility. She wasn't just the woman with a taco cart. She was a part of something bigger, a wave of change rippling outwards, growing stronger. And just like the powerful flavor of her tacos, the spirit of the community would linger in the hearts of those who fought for it, forever reminding them that hope does not just survive, it thrives. Now it's your turn to join the movement. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help more people find inspiration. Comment your reactions and feelings about this amazing transformation. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how together we can make a difference. You need to support the channel, so don't wait, not even one more second.